Welcome back to a Refuge recap. How many of you have ever done show and tell? Maybe you did this in preschool or kindergarten, bringing in that gift, that thing to show people. What if I was to tell you that sharing the gospel is a lot like show and tell? Now you might say, okay, Mike, that sounds ridiculous, but actually it really is. Think about this. As a kid, you get really creative with show and tell. You can bring a stuffed animal, you can bring a toy, you can even bring a pet rock, you can bring your dog's bone, you can bring a blanket, you can really bring whatever you want to. You have it, you want to show it to the class, and then you tell the class what that means to you. But really, this is what faith is like. If I were to tell you that sharing your faith is just like that, how would that be? Well, let's check this out. See, you have your faith. You want people to see your faith. You want people to see you live out that faith. You want people to know about your faith, and you want people to know what that really means to you. If you're like most people, though, the idea of sharing your faith with others is pretty scary. It can terrify you. A lot of people just get really nervous when it comes to sharing your faith. Maybe you're worried that you're going to say the wrong thing. What if you do it wrong? What if you say it wrong? Maybe you're going to mess up a prayer and accidentally tell them, that you're praying to Jesus and not Jesus, whatever it might be. Like, you're really nervous when you do that. And maybe you're worried that you're not going to have the right words to be able to communicate what you want to. Because you've never actually shared the gospel with someone before, you don't really know what to do. Now, I know some of you aren't as worried about what you say. Really, you're worried about how someone will respond. I have been here. I've been nervous. I want to share my faith. I'm open about my faith, but how is this person going to accept it? What if they get offended? What if they reject what I have to say? What do I do with them? I don't want to be like a Bible pusher pushing the Bible down their throat. I don't want them to see me as some wacko psycho Christian that is just trying to force my religion on them. So what do we do? Well, let's go back to the beginning. What is the gospel? The gospel is the good news that Jesus came to rescue us from sin, repair our relationship with God so that we can play a part in his plan to restore the world. That is what it's about. This is the good news of Jesus. It's good because it changes everything we have for the better. And knowing that, it should give us real confidence. And how do I know this? Well, there's a story in Mark chapter 5 about a demon-possessed man. Jesus encounters this demon-possessed man. This guy's been terrorizing town. He's been running around naked. He's been hurting people. He's been living in a graveyard. He encounters Jesus. The demons inside of him feel and know that the presence of Jesus is real. So in verse 15, after Jesus has sent the demons out of this man, it says this: a crowd soon gathered around Jesus, and they saw that the man that had been demon-possessed was now sitting there clothed, perfectly sane in his right mind, and they weren't afraid. Well, why weren't they afraid? Well, the Bible tells us in Mark chapter 5 that they weren't afraid because this person was now a new person. Instead of being a naked wild man possessed by demons running around the graveyard terrorizing people, he was absolutely perfectly sane in his right mind. They saw firsthand the power of Jesus to change this man's life completely. That is what the gospel is about. That first part of the gospel is about transforming and changing people. See, listen to me. If you show people Jesus and show people how Jesus has changed your life by living like him and by loving like him, that makes the gospel 100% apparent in what is going on. See, the gospel isn't just good advice about what we should do. It's about the good news of what God has done, and it's one of the most powerful things that we can share with people. Jesus changes lives. Now, for some of you, you will look at this and you'll be like, okay, I really don't know about this. This is what I want you to think. What does this look like? Well, we look at this by praying for other people. We pray for their present, we pray for their past, we pray for all of these things. We ask God to help forgive them. For some of us, this may look like apologizing to the person who you hurt, asking them to forgive you, and moving forward. For others, this will look like being kind and gracious to your family member instead of taking those relationships for granted and trashing your cousin or your brother or your sister, whatever it might be. Know this: the gospel is shown by our actions. And whatever it is, every act of love that we live out that exemplifies Jesus, it shows people that Jesus changes lives. When this man encountered Jesus, his whole entire life was changed. The identity, who he was absolutely changed. If you want to share the gospel well, all you have to do is show and tell. You show the world what Jesus has done in your life. You show your friends how Jesus has changed you. And then what you do is you proclaim that message of change to everyone that you can, so that people know that you see it and you can now experience the same free feeling, the same newness in my life, the same identity change. All of these different things can be perfectly made new. Why? Because the gospel is about showing and telling.